Good afternoon, everyone. Hope all is well. Back again with this live session today. It's the weekend. I hope you guys are ready, whatever you're up to. So today we've got a property entrepreneur like myself in this property world. He's going to be talking about property, what he does in his career, how he got into property, and what he does with the UK London property market, how he sort of advises his clients. We're going to be talking about all of that. Aaron's here. Let's get him on. Aaron,
Hello,
how are you?
I'm good. What about you?
Good, good. All is well. Thank you so much for taking your time out and coming on this live, sharing with us the knowledge in terms of what you do in your professional career. We know we're both property entrepreneurs. We do
Yeah,
we go out, sell, broker, all that kind of stuff. So it's good to have you here in terms of what you do and how you do it differently. So thank you so much for joining me.
no problem.
And I apologize for being late. It was supposed to be 2 p.m. We're here now. We're live, so it's good.
So, okay, my name's Aaron Dankakadua. I'm a motivated property entrepreneur. So, also the founder of Tier Solutions. So, Tier Solutions is a provider of guaranteed rent for landlords in London. So, we currently have about 20 plus rooms that we're managing, so about 20 tenants, and we also look to develop residential and commercial properties for busy sort of working professionals and professional athletes as well. Just building their wealth through property and development projects.
Good stuff. I mean, good to hear about all of that. So you do rent to rent, you do developments, and you broker for properties as well.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Aaron, I want to take you a few years back into your childhood, into your teenage years. You know, we're all growing up and we see all sorts of careers in front of us when we were growing up, whether it's a doctor, whether it's a lawyer, an accountant, a property agent, a property entrepreneur, whatever it is. What was your inspiration when you were growing up and you were like, you know what, I aspire to be this? Was
So
it something different to what you are doing today?
yeah, it was completely different. So I grew up playing football quite a lot. So my younger years, I was playing football at quite a high level.
Okay.
Um, And why I really got into property, I'd say mainly is because of my dad, because he sort of done a lot of property and he really enjoyed it. And I'd follow him around doing small jobs or like seeing how he manages tenants. And that became an interest in me. And I think I just grew up wanting to do property. So,
Do you ever look back and think that had I concentrated on football, I would have been somewhere else today?
yeah, I do. It, it's quite interesting because you think, if I had the same mindset, what back then, what would it be? Where would I be now? So,
Of
yeah,
course.
always look back and
Absolutely.
at it.
Absolutely. So when you were at school, college, university, all that kind of stuff, how was it? What sort of shaped you up into deciding that, okay, you mentioned that you were with your father, you were going around properties, you were doing small jobs with him, and you sort of enjoyed it. But what sort of put the foothold on this career that you're doing right now that, yep, that's the way forward, and this is what I want to do in my life?
So what sort of I'd say what sort of put me here was just going out and looking at different career routes and finding something that I enjoyed. So once I started venturing into property, I really enjoyed it, and it's something that I saw myself doing on a day-to-day basis, something that I'd wake up wanting to do, and that's really that's my drive within doing property. So I'd say that's how I got here.
And
And
when did you sort of get into property? I'm sure you got it from a very young age, but sort of,
I'd say I really started concentrating fully on property 18 months ago. So I've
okay.
been about 18 months, I'd say.
And before that, was there something else you were doing in your
Um,
career?
I have a digital marketing background, so um, I was doing quite a lot of digital marketing. I was working for a software company, and I also worked for a marketing agency as an intern. So I worked on quite a few projects, digital marketing wise as well.
So you kind of know you have the know-how of how to produce content for your business, what you're doing right now in terms of property, right?
Yeah, so
It's
securing leads through Facebook, and just marketing campaigns to target.
attract.
Yeah, who we need.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's good to know. I mean, people come into this property sort of field and sometimes get lost in terms of how to get about marketing them, whether it's through Facebook, whether it's through property portals, whether it's through social media, all that kind of stuff. So it's good that you had that background. So it must have sort of helped you out as soon as you got into the property sort of game. It must have given you that edge on other people that, what, I already have the know-how of going about and marketing my business to people through social media, through Facebook. Now it's property. I'm sure I can get this sorted with the way that I was doing it before. Wasn't that the
Yeah.
case?
So I'd say with property, most of our marketing for TO is usually more offline, but because I've done sort of offline marketing before, I was able to just implement it. So I'd say I did kind of have an edge, but on on the offline side, I didn't have an edge, but on the online side, I'd say I did have an edge because I could just implement Facebook ads into finding the landlords that we needed to find. So yeah, I'd say I did have a bit of an edge with
Good stuff. Good stuff. Good to know about all of that. Coming into property now, you mentioned that you do rent to rent, the rental guarantee sort of formula that you use.
yeah.
You also develop residential commercial properties. You also broker and find properties for sale. What is sort of your niche? I mean, we see a lot of people. Let's take it step by step. I mean, it depends on what you want to talk about first. Should we
Yeah.
talk about rent to rent, or what sort of what is the what is the main business model of your company?
So I'd say rent to rent.
Cool, super. I mean, we see a lot of competition in the market, right? With so many people offering rent to rent guarantees, taking on properties and then putting them on to sort of serviced accommodation, all that kind of stuff. How has it been for you? I mean, you just got in 18 months ago, so you're like 6 months pre-corona and then the whole sort of year into corona. How has it been for you?
I'd say it's been challenging, but we've sort of overcome a lot of hurdles just based on the times we took on our properties, what we're offering to, let's say, tenants, the kind of tenant demographic we're going for as well. It's just sort of supplying their needs and making sure our landlords are happy as well with the rent they're receiving. So I'd say challenges wise, I'd say the biggest challenge for us during COVID was just trying to keep our tenants happy and finding out if they will be affected and try and deal with it early.
Were
So
they affected, and did that affect you? Did that affect your business?
um, only a few of our tenants were affected, but we wasn't much affected in March, and we haven't really been affected by COVID
So
because
people have sort of stayed there, they paid their rents, and you've been able to pay your rents to the landlord and
yeah,
everything. So it's not been uh, sort of hard sailing, I guess.
no, so it hasn't really been a hard sell, I'd say.
Good stuff. Um, Coming back to the sort of rent to rent model, right? Can you take me through it? I mean, how do you sort of secure a property? You mentioned that you do Facebook leads and all that kind of stuff that landlords get attracted to it. But okay, there's one thing about generating the lead, but then it is also following up the lead and closing that, What
Yeah.
is sort of your model that you go out and you speak to the owners and get them to give you the property on that rent to rent basis? What do you do?
So we so the whole process would be us finding the property. speaking to the landlord, finding out the problems. Maybe some of them are not have any problems. They just want time back, or just don't want to pay a management fee to an estate agent, and it would literally be finding for us the best solution for them to, you know, make a more profitable HMO, if it's a HMO or 4-bed property, where they have a hands-off experience and we would sort of manage everything. So that's what we kind of promote to them, and that's how we sort of secure our deals with landlords, or if it's through agents, we would explain the same thing as well.
But sometimes owners might be wary, right? That, okay, I might be, uh, for let's say a year, they're receiving £1,000 per month,
Yeah,
right? From the estate agent, the estate agent's taking their management fee, all that kind of stuff. Why would they come to you when the estate agent's already managing their property and they're getting a rent from them? They've had no issues with the tenant or anything. And because I know a bit about rent in terms that when you provide a rental guarantee to a landlord,
yeah,
you sort of bring the rent down because it's a rental guarantee. You know,
yeah,
you're regardless it's vacant or it's tenanted, the landlord's receiving the rent, right? But how do landlords sort of agree on the fact that, whoa, I was getting £1,000, even though it was management fee and everything, maybe net I was getting 900, year I'm getting 800, but then I'm also getting paid for the vacant period.
yeah.
How do you sort of analyze that situation? How do you make them understand that, yes, you're losing a bit of money, but then you've got that guarantee? You know, what's your sort of, I don't want to go way into your
Yeah.
sales pitch, but what do you do? How do you convince them?
So let's say, for example, with an agency, you would still be covering maintenance costs. We would have a set amount that we would cover for maintenance costs. Also, you're not paying the 10% fee if with an agency, and we would be covering all bills. Well, sometimes most tenants would cover bills as well. So those are three sort of things that we put in front of the sort of landlord, so they understand why the fees are a bit lower.
Why the rent is lower?
Yeah.
Got you.
So that's what we would put out to the landlord and make them understand that, and we're still guaranteeing the rent for a set period of time. So that's what we'll try and explain and get out to the landlord.
And normally, when you guarantee the rent, how long do you guarantee it for? What is it, a set contract for a year, 2 years, three
Yeah, so
years? I mean,
we usually look for 5 years, but
wow.
yeah, so it would be 5 years with a break clause of 3 years, and we review the rent at year one if the landlord wanted to, get a higher rent, or yeah, just change the rental agreement.
So there are possibilities within the contract to get that done, right? I
Yeah,
mean, and that's why sort of it's easier for landlords to it's better for landlords to give it to rent companies rather than estate agents, because with all that fees, the hassle, the time, the
yeah,
management, like you mentioned, that even though the agent charges for management, the landlord still has to cover that management cost.
yeah, definitely. So they still have to cover that management cost, where as us, we don't take a management fee.
But you
So
just pay a lower rent to them, even
yeah,
though that's guaranteed and they get paid, month in, month out, every day. There's
yeah.
no issue.
And
Good to know that. Good to know about how you do it. Yes, go ahead. Sorry, Aaron.
and I was also gonna say sometimes we even let's say, for example, one of our most recent properties, we added a shower to the property just to add more value to the property. So we also explain that to the landlords as well. And you wouldn't really get that with an estate agent. Just depends on the estate agency you would go to as well. But yeah,
So you
that's
would go out before you sort of market the property to potential tenants. You look at the works that need be doing, whether it's refurbishing, whether it's adding another bathroom, a shower, like you mentioned. So
yeah,
you look at all of those aspects, and then once that's ready, then you pitch the house to potential tenants.
yeah.
I mean, do you use property portals like Zoopla or Rightmove to find tenants, or you go to other avenues like, for example, Facebook? You put
Um,
the room there for rent and you get the tenant.
so we do use Facebook. We use property portals as well, so Spare Room. We often use Open Rent as well, just to get them on all the property portals. So yeah, we use all of them, I'd say.
And is it easy for you to cover those costs of I mean, property portals are not free,
Yeah,
you know, and also the fact that you're doing building works to the property before you even have any income coming in,
yeah.
there's a cost that you have to pay for that, right? So how do you sort of manage all of that when you've not had one penny paid into your account?
So I'd say it's all about factoring it all into the deal. So you need to know if you spend this much, you expect a return at month 6 or month 8. And yeah, it's just building that all up into the deal and understanding the numbers that come with doing the work and getting tenants in as well. So before we take the property, we tend to understand the area and what it's like.
Possibly what works the property needs, all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff, and then you come out with a proposal.
yeah,
You must be using an Excel sheet to put all the numbers in to see everything, right? Everyone uses them. So that's your sort of rent to rent sort of business model that you're doing right now
yeah,
at your company. You also mentioned that you do developments, commercial, residential. How has it been in this market for you right now as a developer? Has it been easy going or has it been tough trying to get the right planning, trying to get the right construction workers, trying to get the right site manager, all so many aspects at development. And yet,
yeah.
because you've just started 18 months ago, take me through the process. How's it been for you?
I'd say it's been difficult deal wise because people sort of snatch up deals a lot. Stamp duty free period at the moment, and also um, people have, for example, a builder would have lower sort of cost in terms of doing the work, labor cost in terms of doing the work. So a lot of deals go quite quickly. So it's just about being patient and finding the right deal that works. And um, that's how we sort of factored that all in terms of looking. So we're not really in a rush to move at the moment. We know the deals will eventually come again, and we'll be able to factor in deals because we don't. We sometimes look at auction, but we have a certain area that we look in and just go for that area. So that's how we've dealt with it at the
So do
moment.
you deal in different areas of London, or you have one set area in London that you go in and that's what you deal with?
So one set area that we deal with in London that we look for deals in.
Okay,
So
great.
uh, the only
Do,
area we look
do
in
you
at the
do you,
moment.
do you ever feel that sometimes a deal hits your table or hits your desktop and you're like, "Yup, I like that," but as soon as you pick up the phone to call the agent and he's like, "No, it's gone."
Yeah,
How does it feel? I mean, being an agent myself, I've had that so many times that an amazing deal comes through you through your books. You put the brochure together, you send it out, and then all of a sudden you get 10 phone calls, viewings, everything, and the next day maybe someone's late to the party. They've seen the email really late and they're like, whoa, that went in like what, less than 24 hours. how
yeah.
how how do you find that for yourself? Because as a developer you need to find sites every single time. As soon as you
Yeah,
finish one site you need to move on to the next one. I've had some developers who are working on like site after site after site, and let's say their acquisitions are like at the start of the year. They'll acquire as much as they can, and then throughout the year they will build those out. So
yeah.
how do you manage that for yourself in terms of being right on time to get the right deal, and then obviously building that out as well?
So in terms of being right on time, we try to, if the deal really works, try and put an offer in straight away and try and secure the deal as soon as possible. Um, but at the moment, I'd say right now, just due to people are able to, put in a much higher offer than expected, and properties are going quite high just due to the little property boom at the moment. So I'd say just factoring that all in and making sure you still get the right deal that you would want to get and making sure the deal works.
But
But
don't you think the property the way they're booming right now is going to carry on? Do
um,
you, do you have a feeling that it's going to go down?
Yeah, I have a feeling eventually it's going to
But
start
this
dipping.
is but this is but this is London, UK we're talking about. It's not Dubai or it's not India or it's not, it's not the Middle East, it's not Turkey, it's not
Yeah,
Cyprus, it's not the US. I mean, the world looks at London when it comes to property investment.
yeah.
So why is that feeling with you that, it's going to dip?
Um, I just feel like at the moment, just due to how quickly it's going up and due to the time we're in as well, and a lot of the market's being pushed as well by government schemes. I feel like eventually the market's going to drop, and when the market does drop, I feel like there's going to be much more deals as well. But
But do
that's
you think that because the government's doing so much to push out the properties or to push the prices or, get people buying again and everything, do you
yeah,
think that the government's going to allow for the property market to drop?
um,
I mean, if it had to drop, wouldn't you think that it would drop when
no,
sort of lockdown happened, March, April? But no, people were still
yes,
going out buying,
burn out,
everything
burn.
was happening. So why do you have that feeling that, you know,
Because eventually, right now we're in a recession as well. I don't feel like it's really affected the country as of yet, and people are gonna start to struggle further down the line. So I feel like as much as the government can push the market up, things are gonna sort of drop soon. So that's my sort of view on the property
do
market,
you
and
think do you think 2021 is going to be a tougher year?
um, potentially I'd say yeah, because it's just coming off the back of COVID. I'd say the vaccine will play a big part into how the market unfolds as well. And I'd say there's less security right now in in jobs. The property market, I would say, is not as secure just due to people be losing jobs as well. So I'd say we'd have to wait to see how it all unfolds.
Well, let's see.
Yeah,
I personally think being in the market myself as a property broker, I feel that the market is picking up because the amount of phone calls, the amount of deals, the amount of viewings that we're doing just here.
yeah,
Forget the rest of the agents. I mean, the other agents are doing well as well. I am located right above an estate agent, pretty busy with
yeah.
rentals, with sales, everything. So I feel that this is my personal view that I don't think the property market is going to drop, but but when it comes to getting a deal done, possibly from the asking price, the deal is getting negotiated down to maybe 20-25%.
Okay.
You see? So I think in that prospect, yes, the deals are the property market is sort of taking a hit, but then the asking prices are way above
Yeah,
market value. So
yeah.
that's why they have to take that hit. But it's good to know your point of view, in terms of how you think that the market is going to move forward and what is there in stock for property buyers in London, in the UK. You also mentioned you're a property broker, like myself, property entrepreneur. You're doing different things. How
Yeah.
is it going for you in terms of brokering for properties for other people? Whether
Um,
it's finding the deal and then pushing it out to a property developer, a property investor. How is it?
so this is something we were doing during lockdown. So we were finding, let's say, rent to rent deals and push them out to our investors. So we created a whole list on Facebook of people looking for rent to rent deals and um, sort
So
of
is
got
is it is it something that, well, when it comes to brokering, you don't work if you do not want to go ahead with that scheme, you push it out to other investors, other
yeah,
developers who may be interested in that scheme.
yeah. So
Okay.
all about building a list that we can just sort of push out to our investors. And if it's something we're not looking to take on, or if it's not in our area, we could always push it out to our investors or someone on our list that would want that property in that area.
Do you work with UK based investors or you work with investors all around the world?
So mainly be UK investors that we
Okay.
work with.
Okay, great. I mean, good. All of these. This is
Yeah.
the problem with lives, right? You got to do it on your phone, and then phone calls keep coming. So apologies for that. I'm sure people must have found value in what you spoke or what we spoke about in terms of the property market. It's good to have this sort of healthy conversation with yourself today. But
Definitely.
before you go and we end this live, we've spoken about property, we've spoken about the property market, we shared that knowledge with the people out there. But it's been a year of negativity, right? We're ending the year now. It's what, a few days left of 2020. And a
Yeah.
lot of people are like, never talk about 2020 again, sanitize it from your
Yeah.
memory. So we've seen a hell lot of negativity around us, people losing their jobs, like you mentioned, not finding the right home, possibly because of losing their jobs, businesses going bust, all that negative sentiment that's in the air right now. I want you to share a positive message for the people listening and for the people who are going to view later, so that whatever negativity they have within them or around them, they can forget all of that and move forward in life.
So my message would be better times are coming. If you're looking for a deal, there's going to be more deals out there potentially to come, and even better deals. So just keep positive and just stay on track and stay focused with what you're trying to do.
Super. Well, thank you so much, Aaron, for coming on this live, and I apologize once again for being late.
No problem.
I'll see you soon. And if you're looking for properties, do check it out on my BTH Properties website or social media.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me,
Super.
and speak soon.
Thank you, Aaron. Take care. Bye
You
bye.
too. Bye.
So that was property entrepreneur Aaron, who joined me just now, talking about the UK property market, the London property market, the rent to rent, the development aspect, and how they go on with finding deals for themselves and for their property investors. Good to have this sort of healthy conversation about the property market. Carmen, I see you here. Thank you so much. Well, the live's ended, so I'll see you again soon. In the meantime, everyone, have a great weekend.